It is 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. NFL free agency officially begins with the start of the new league year on Wednesday, but several deals are coming down as the legal tampering period officially starts in 1 hour. Quarterback Russell Wilson reportedly will sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers on a one-year deal for vet minimum. The Broncos will pay him over $37 million this year after releasing him. Baker Mayfield will remain in Tampa. He signs a 3-year deal worth $100 million, $50 million guaranteed. And centers going off the board. The Jags have agreed to terms with former Bills center Mitch Morse, 2 years, $10.5 million. And the Raiders are keeping center Andre James. He signs a 3-year deal to stay in Vegas. Also, Bengals receiver T. Higgins has requested a trade after the Bengals placed the franchise tag on him this offseason. With a heavily rotated squad, Nashville Soccer Club took a 2-0 lead over LA Galaxy, but conceded twice to draw 2-2 at home on Sunday. The attention now turns back to CONCACAF Champions Cup round of 16. Nashville travels to Miami for the second leg with the 2-2 aggregate score on Wednesday. And the Nashville Predators' point streak continued on Sunday, now up to 11 games after falling in OT at the Minnesota Wild 4-3. The Wild pulled their goalie in the extra period before finding the game winner. The Preds will visit the Jets on Wednesday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Merry Christmas. That's what it feels like around here. Free agency, not yet. Not yet, even though you see the deals flying fast and furiously across the surface of the internet. We're happy to have you in for the next 3 hours, Lucas and myself. 615-737-1045. You got the number if you want to chime in. What do you want most for the Titans to add today? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. That's where you can live stream the show as well. A lot of parts and pieces moving already, and technically we're not to free agency yet. We still have an hour to go before even the legal tampering period, Lucas, officially begins. It doesn't feel much like that at all, does it?
The tampering has been happening, and the deals are flying.
Yeah, it's always a funny turn of phrase, but here we are, and we'll soldier through these things together. Titans expected to be aggressive. Why wouldn't they be? They got all kinds of money. They got all kinds of needs. Is there one position on the board that you could name that they don't need to add a player at?
Long snapper.
And punter. But you don't know what the Stonehouse injury situation is right now either, as far as his timeline. Although I did see he got his real estate license. Perhaps prepare. I think it made Titans fans nervous. They're like, oh, my God, he got hurt and decided he was going to get in on the Nashville real estate market? The hell? No, it's okay. He's going to punt and, do a little real estate on the side. Not a bad idea.
Oh, Titans fans got to get to work coming up with Ryan Stonehouse catchphrases to sell houses.
Ooh. Do you have one that comes to mind? This is, of course, how we would begin our free agency show, trying to think of catchphrases for the punter.
If I was good at my job, I would.
Well, we'll see if we can get some creativity throughout the course of the next 3 hours. But seriously, they need help everywhere. Top to bottom, everywhere but the long snapper. Morgan Cox back on a 1-year deal. The rest of it is an unholy mess, but you knew that already. You've been prepared for this moment for quite some time, and it's an exciting time because you've been down bad for basically the better part of, season and a half. Not quite 2 seasons, but season and a half, we'll say. And at this point, it's all about next-gen Titans, new era Titans, Callahan era Titans, Carthon era Titans. What is this going to look like? Exactly. Now, over the course of the next couple of days, you can start to see that actually come to fruition rather than, oh, my God, we hired a Bengals coach. Are we going to 3-wide receiver this thing to death? No more running on first down at all? No. Let's just keep your powder dry, like the great coach Dave McGinnis says. But this is an exciting time, and there are players all over the place that fill positions of need, because you have positions of need literally everywhere. As far as the marketplace goes so far, this morning anyway, we talked about corners on Friday with Jalen Johnson, $19 million on an average annual basis. Again, it's not all guaranteed money, right? There's some monopoly money elements to this stuff, but it's still a big price tag. All right, there's the corner market. The ceiling for the corner market has been established. Centers over the weekend. For those of you who are interested in the Raiders center, Andre James, he signs a 3-year deal to remain in Vegas because, again, for the next 54 minutes, I guess 53 minutes, teams have the opportunity to continue to retain their pending free agents before those guys officially hit the market. And the Raiders said, no, we'd like to keep our young center as a part of this future offensive line.
So that's 2 centers off the board.
The first being Mitch Morse.
Yes. Who's coming to the AFC South.
Mm-hmm. Going to be a Jag. So's Mac Jones. How about that?
Yeah. That kind of snuck under all the rest of the news today over the weekend.
Well, I mean, he's a backup quarterback now, right? Did you see Bailey Zappi like the post on the NFL's Instagram account announcing the trade? No love lost for Mac Jones in New England.
I mean, is Bailey Zappi going to be the starter in New England?
No, but the Bailey Zappi era is about to last longer than the Mac Jones era did.
That's true. He's got a pretty good shot at the backup job, I suppose, whoever they draft with that number 3 pick.
Sure enough. And as we go through the list of different players or different positions, prioritization. Now, it's free-flowing marketplace, so you don't necessarily have to go into this thing saying, all right, we can't do anything until we get our center, or we can't do anything until we sign a top wide receiver. We can't do anything until we fortify our back end, much like the Chicago Bears did this weekend. Congratulations to Kevin Byard on his 2-year deal with the Chicago Bears. I do think, though, that the more that I work through this, or at least go back through all the different scenarios in my head, and of course these deals will continue to fly across our desk, and we'll try to get you the information as concisely as humanly possible. For example, Landon Dickerson, the Eagles guard, just agreed to a new 4-year extension. They're trying to keep that offensive line intact. I think that the thing for me that continues to come to the fore is the center. Now, I had a conversation with Ben Jones about this over the course of several days, because apparently Ben's been working with some of the offensive linemen in this draft class, much like Delaney Walker was with the tight ends last year at the draft, or at the combine. You remember running into Delaney?
Yeah.
They're more in a mentorship role last year, but Ben apparently has been putting in some work with these dudes. And we're kind of going back and forth on the value of a center. $8 million a year for Andre James feels low. Felt low to me. Felt cost-effective. Maybe low is not the right word. But somebody's going to pay, for example, Lloyd Cushenberry, I would think north of 10 in free agency, the Broncos pending center.
I mean, 2 years, $10.5 million for Mitch Morse.
Yeah, but he's older.
Yeah.
We're talking about 26-year-old Andre James versus, I mean, Mitch Morse has got to be near his mid-30s, 33, 32. Am I aging him unfairly? I think he's been around for quite some time.
Morse is 31.
Okay. So
he's about to be 32.
Okay. But still, going back and forth on this, and there are guys, we talked about it with Coach Mack, right? Mack kind of backed me off a little bit on prioritizing veteran center, because he said, there's plenty of options in this upcoming draft class that you can continue to do this with. What Ben told me is centers are cheap. You either make 12 or you make 5. So are the Titans going to pay $12 million in free agency for a center? They're going to draft a center? They're going to find a bargain in the $5 million Mitch Morse range. I know how many people are going to look around at corners. You should. Wide receiver feels like the biggest variable in free agency for the Titans, does it not?
Yeah, because there's the most opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that we've talked about, I don't feel nearly enough because Danico Autry is getting ready to be an unrestricted free agent. They don't seem hell bent on bringing him back, and I guess we could. Do you want to talk about the Jeremy Fowler, Derrick Henry thing, or do you feel like that's just, I don't know?
Jeremy Fowler. Oh, I guess we gotta do this, right? Not really. Jeremy Fowler says Henry might be a Titan. Might not.
Why would you do that to people? Somebody just swerved off the road because they thought there was actual Derrick Henry news. Yeah, Jeremy Fowler said the thing on the internet that everybody here locally has known for, I don't know, I would call it more than a year.
Reports Henry unlikely to return to the Titans, but he could.
But the door's not closed yet. Hey, listen, I'm not dragging Jeremy the way the rest of you seem to want to, because Jeremy Fowler is a national NFL reporter, and 31 other NFL markets don't give a damn about what's been going on with Derrick Henry for the last calendar year. And so that is a legitimate update to them, where to us it's just kind of like, okay, what's the news here, bud?
I don't know. Everybody knows he's a free agent. I feel like you could say that about every free agent. Yeah, they're unlikely to go back to the team they were on, but they could.
But you're saying there's a chance. Love that.
I guess unless you're Kirk Cousins, who nobody believes will be back in Minnesota. And Diana Rossini has just reported that Kirk Cousins will begin discussions with Atlanta as soon as the tampering window opens, which is in a little over 45 minutes.
So prioritization. How do you view this free agency class? What do you feel like the Titans must accomplish over the course of the next, I don't know, we'll call it 72 hours, even though, of course, free agency doesn't end after this week, right? This continues. The Derrick Henry stuff is going to be interesting. I keep kind of just checking back on Derrick's circumstance, and basically every time I ask about Derrick Henry and what the vibe is, I get a resounding shrug. I don't know. There is kind of not hesitant. Hesitant's the wrong word, but people around Derrick seem to be as much just kind of floating out there with his status and where he might land, though the real estate agent for Derrick Henry in Dallas caused a bit of a commotion this week because all he's doing, he's adding a new member to his family. I don't know if people in the picture noticed that his girlfriend is pregnant again, very pregnant.
Congrats, Derrick.
Indeed, congratulations to the Henry family. But family's expanding. Fair to say he may want to, find a more suitable living accommodation in a place that he's lived for several years now in Dallas. It doesn't mean that he's going to the Cowboys. Stop sending me Derrick Henry's realtor's Instagram posts on Reddit, you bleepers.
I was going to say, so he's buying a house in Dallas?
He's buying a new house in Dallas.
Okay.
He's had a house in Dallas.
Sure. I was going to say, that was my first reaction to that. Like, he spends a ton of time in Dallas every year.
I would argue he spends more time in Dallas than anywhere else because that's where they shoot the Heisman House commercial too. Anyway. 615-737-1045. We'll get to your phone calls here in just a second. But T. Higgins has officially requested a trade. Should the Titans be in on it? We'll talk about it next. Welcome back. Contract details moving fast. Keep you updated throughout the course of the show. We're kind of in an ideal spot, bud, for this kind of news. We do have a pretty newsy time slot, I would say, just generally.
We don't get the late afternoon news dumps. That's the thing we don't get.
No, that's fine. I got prime time for that. I'll do cleanup duty at 8 o'clock tonight. We'll recap the day. It was a disaster last night. We don't have to. I'll tell you about that mess before polls. You talked to Robert about what our evening was trying to put together a primetime show last night?
I talked to Robert this morning. That did not come up.
Okay. We'll fill you in on those details. Unimportant as they are. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to chime in. What do you want the Titans to prioritize in free agency before we talk about this T. Higgins request for a trade, officially requesting a trade? It had been posed the idea that he might be a trade candidate, but now he, via his representation, is saying, nah, we want out. Chuck in Clarksville is next. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, Buck. Hey, if he's really interested, I would ask the Bengals if they would take Traylon Burks in a conditional fifth in 2025 that could go to a 4 if Higgins met all of his incentives. I think that would be a good deal for both teams. Burks is a similar type receiver as Higgins, and if he stays uninjured, could produce well for the Bengals. So I think that would be a good trade for both teams. So I just want to see what you thought about that.
My initial reaction is to shoot it down, but I don't want to do that outright because Traylon, I mean, the difference between T. Higgins and Traylon Burks is T. Higgins is a good player, and Traylon Burks is not to date. Now, Traylon Burks has had good games against the Bengals, ironically enough. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe. But I just can't imagine a situation where they would look at that as a viable commodity, especially if the draft compensation, you would need a day 1 or a day 2 pick, I would think, for T. Higgins, especially the way that they've continued to value him over and over again. I was at Duke Tobin's combine press conference where he's just looking around at us and being like, hey, guys, we're a better offense with T. Higgins. Like, that's just what it is. And the Jamar Chase thing does complicate it because they can't have it all, but they've got a bit of runway on that. What are you making a face like you smell something bad for?
It's just my face.
Oh, okay.
But with that said, like, put it this way, and it's definitely not as simple as this. Do you want T. Higgins that much more than Calvin Ridley that you'd be willing to give up draft compensation plus having to give him a long-term deal? Because clearly his priority is a long-term deal.
Yeah.
Because that's where I am with, like, the L'Jarius Sneed thing with Kansas City. Do you want L'Jarius Sneed so bad that you'll give up draft capital and pay him when you can find other ways to address the cornerback position?
Now, I'm way more with you on L'Jarius Sneed. Let's work our way through this, okay? Because I am of a position right now that T. Higgins, that basically a trade, not just T. Higgins, but Sneed, T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson is not a logical thing, even though Titans fans continue to float that as a bit of a wet dream type of situation. It's not worth it because you have so many needs. One wide receiver does not fix your problems. One corner does not fix your problems, even if they are good to great quality players, and all three of those players that we just mentioned, and one of them exceptional, right? But the Justin Jefferson thing is not realistic, so we just probably toss that one to the side. The Titans do not have the luxury of just kind of being frivolous with the draft capital. John Robinson's errors over the course of 3 drafts prior to 2023 have allowed you or have put you in a situation where you can no longer be any kind of frivolous with your draft picks. You just need bodies. I don't know that those bodies are going to be better than T. Higgins or L'Jarius Sneed. Chances are, by percentage chance, they're probably not going to be, but still. It is, for me, complicated only by Hopkins' contract. Because we talked about this last week, even with Calvin Ridley. What is his plan moving forward? And does that even come up? I think it has to come up in your salary cap math into the future. I think you have to take him into some level of consideration. I don't know what kind of discussions they have had, either with Hopkins directly or with his representation about, hey, bud, you thinking about a future here? What are your future considerations? Maybe he's not in a mood to talk about him right now. I have no idea how DeAndre Hopkins handles his offseason business other than, going to Paris and walking a runway.
Well, there seems to be another free agent wide receiver falling off the board as Ian Rappaport reports that Michael Pittman Jr. is expected to finalize a deal to keep him in Indy.
Yeah, but we knew that was going to be the case. And that was something, again, Chris Ballard, just because it is lying season doesn't mean that they're all flat out lying to you at the podiums at the combine, right? Chris Ballard said very much, we plan on Michael Pittman being here, and they tagged him in an effort to work towards a long-term deal. Now, the thing that's curious here is why doesn't T. Higgins want a long-term deal in Cincinnati?
I think he does.
Well, I think he wants a long-term deal. I don't know that he's hell-bent on it being in Cincinnati. I just think he's looking at the window to cash in at a perfect time and saying, I want a long-term deal right this minute, right now. Give me my money.
Adam Schefter's report was, after saying T. Higgins has requested a trade, Higgins loves Cincinnati and hoped to be with the team long-term, but is disappointed that the team has not had any talks about a long-term contract extension since March 2023, and he's ready to move to a new home.
So he feels undervalued. He's 25 years old. He's got people in his ear saying, you could make $25, $30 million a year if you play this right, bud. And this is where the agents complicate things. Now, the agents are working on behalf of their clients and also on behalf of themselves because they stand to make a percentage, so that can't be ignored here. But this is something that they continue to work through. This was the quote from Duke Tobin specifically. Quote, it's really simple. He's a good player. We want to keep him. We have the resources to do that, so we decided early to do it. And that's where we are. We like T. We're a better team with T. With the way we managed our cap, we had the ability to put the franchise tag on him, and we did, but did not say anything to the effect of a long-term deal. As you noted, Adam Schefter said no such long-term contract negotiations have occurred. Talks seemingly stalled. Now he says no mas. Now the problem is, they don't have to grant him a trade. Now, they can sit there and await the Godfather offer, but this is why players hate the franchise tag. There is nothing that this does to motivate the Bengals further to move him beyond somebody getting desperate or the wide receiver sweepstakes and free agency playing out and somebody looking around in a musical chairs type situation without a chair to sit in or without a wide receiver to catch passes for him and saying, okay, fine. Take my money. Take my money right now and give me T. Higgins, or rather take my draft picks right now and my money. T. Higgins will take my money. You'll take my draft picks, and I'll get a wide receiver out of it. That's something that could continue on this way. Now, I need to refamiliarize myself if there's a deadline specifically for a tagged player to get traded before they're essentially locked in. I need to double check that before we move much further into this. But just to the caller Chuck's proposition here, Treylon Burks is not a trade asset, guys. I don't know. I mean, what team is going to look around and even he said a conditional fourth, including the T. Higgins, if T. Higgins hits all his incentives. I'm like, I don't know. Me personally, and I understand that I'm more down. I don't think I'm more down on Treylon Burks than the average person who's watched Treylon Burks' Titans career or lack thereof play out to date. But I'm just not looking at that person as anything, And
it's not like the Bengals are desperate to get T. Higgins off the books, right? Like it's a contract that they're just trying to shed. That's not the case.
They don't have cap issues. They've got Jamar Chase in a cost-effective situation. T. Higgins is technically in a cost-effective situation given the franchise tag that he's currently set to play under. And they have no great motivations to move him because, as Duke Tobin, their director of player personnel, said, yeah, he's a good player. We're better with him, and he's going to stick around. It's not like T. Higgins is going to look around at, actually, this would be curious. Obviously, only he could answer this question, but what do you think he would look around and say, is the money more valuable than the quarterback that he plays with?
Probably. And he was asked at the Super Bowl, right, about the possibility of coming back to his home state to play for his former offensive coordinator, now Titans head coach. And the word he used was that would be ideal, I believe.
Oh, yeah, at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But he's, again, to Lucas's point, is the value of T. Higgins so much more than that of Calvin Ridley, who is, by almost consensus, the best available free agent wide receiver, because you would be paying Calvin Ridley prices for T. Higgins, if not more, and also giving up assets that you cannot afford to give up. Their draft capital situation, they have 7 picks right now, and there's nothing to preclude them from moving around once we get to the draft itself or, ahead of the draft. We've got more than a month before all this goes down in Detroit. What do you think of that draft in Detroit this year, by the way?
I don't care. It's not going to change the viewing experience for me, I don't think. No. Is it for you?
No.
Are you invested on where the draft is?
No, I'm going to be locked in that tiny little Titans media war room while we wait for people to make picks and press conferences to be done, and then all of us can go home and show up the next day at 10 a.m. and do it all over again.
It'll be interesting because I don't know where they're going to do it. I don't know what big open space there is to do it in Detroit. I thought it actually looked pretty good in KC last year.
Well, better than Vegas because it wasn't just done in a parking lot off the street.
Yeah, that was rough.
Anyway. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. A reminder, as your team puts together its free agency class, we are going to put together the best free agency and draft class breakdown around with Greg Cosell of NFL Films. Friday, May the 3rd at the Analog in the Hutton Hotel. You can be there as Greg and I break down the Titans 2024 draft class and free agency class. We're going to take your questions. Audience participation is always a lot of fun. We got some great questions last year. We're going to take a look at the division, certainly, because this is going to be a talking point for us later. There's just as much in the Texans and Colts war chest to be able to go out there and spend at pace with you. So this division is going to be worth taking a look at. Tickets are on sale right now, starting at only $25. To purchase tickets, you can go to 1045thezone.com today and be there for one of the biggest events that we're going to have this offseason. It's going to be great. So, we as a show are agreed. There is not a feasible trade situation for the Titans to make in regards to T. Higgins.
How much comes down to just Brian Callahan and his opinion on T, though? Someone that's going to know T. Higgins better than most. If Brian Callahan, from the last 4 years spent with Higgins, truly believes he can be a number one wide receiver, and the biggest reason he hasn't been is because he's surrounded by Jamar Chase, then the conversation could be totally different. It totally depends on their evaluation of T. Higgins.
We can't answer that question for Brian Callahan, but again, that's something that they have to work through, because if Brian Callahan says, and again, this is just a hypothetical, if Brian Callahan says, I want T. Higgins, let's make it happen, and Rand comes back and says, or whomever, Brinker, Rand, both of them as a part of the discussion, Vin Marino, who runs the salary cap, all of it, hey, bud, understand, had great success with him, he's definitely a good player, these are our circumstances, this is what we're up against. Work with me here. Let's find some compromise. T. Higgins is not so much better than the rest of the wide receiver talent that's out there, including the draft class and the potential of that for much, much less money, that I think if you're taking a T. Higgins trade of the field, you're obviously going to take the field, yeah? With all the different wide receivers, all the different sizes, shapes, contract options that you'll have in this current open market, or when the market opens officially on Wednesday, even though it's all happening right now. And the draft class, regarded as, and I feel like we say this every year, but this is as talented a wide receiver draft class by consensus as I can remember, as far as the high-end athleticism, as far as the number of players that are well-rounded, that can be versatile in how you deploy them. It can fit a bunch of different systems, and it speaks to the thing that we've been talking about for years now with 7-on-7 specialization of quarterbacks, wide receivers, yada, yada. I just think that you have to be judicious here, even though you look at it and say, it's like, you ever had a friend or somebody that you knew, maybe it doesn't have to be a friend, but somebody you knew got a great job, started making a bunch of money out of college. And then all of a sudden that friend who's excited, or that person who's very excited about the number of resources that they had versus, starving college kid, they put themselves in bad position because they are overspending, even though they have the finances to be able to spend and live comfortably and this, that, and the other. That's kind of how I view the Titans right now. Like, not yet. They haven't done anything. They haven't done anything that would warrant, like, taking out a $700 car payment or something, like $700 a month car payment or something like that. But just kind of looking around and be like, all right, you got all this money, but do you have sound financial advice? Do you have somebody to manage it? Are you good at your budget? Are you good at kind of parsing these things out and working through it so that you don't put yourself in a position where you're overextended? That's where the Titans are. 615-737-1045 is the number. Who's on line 2, Lucas?
It's a mystery.
Okay, mystery caller on line 2. Let's find out. Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
What's up, Buck? What's going on?
What you got?
Hey, Buck, did you give your team a shout-out today, first off, for beating Michigan State yesterday?
No, I figured I'd get through free agency before I talked Indiana basketball in Middle Tennessee.
Oh, my God. I was just going to get on your case there, sir. Not giving them a shout-out.
Well, it's a little busy today, Trey. We'll say we're gonna be at Bridgestone Arena doing college hoops the rest of the week. So today feels like not the best day to prioritize college hoops.
Oh, we could talk college hoops.
We can when we're at Bridgestone Arena Wednesday through Friday, surrounded by college hoops and also NFL free agents. Like,
why I think you want to avoid? I think you want to avoid talking college hoops because you're afraid of Jeff holding you accountable.
No, I'm not afraid of Jeff. I see
think you're
Jeff's
afraid
call.
of Jeff. Yeah, and you just ignore it and think you're afraid.
Well, no, I'm prioritizing. I'm doing the thing that we talked about. I'm prioritizing. What do you think the majority of people care about today? Actually, more people probably care about me getting roasted by Jeff because Tennessee. What the hell is that?
Jeff, I know you can hear us. I agree with you. He's scared.
All right, let's find out. Jeff in Gallatin's next.
Hey, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, if you could give us an update on that chokehold that Tennessee has on the rest of the SEC.
Well, they had their grip slightly loosened at the Food City Center Arena. Yeah, it's tough for me to be chesty after they look that bad. I mean, everybody but Dalton Knecht, man. 40 points for Dalton Knecht.
Well, Reed Shepherd was unconscious on Saturday. Just could not miss from 3. And
now,
that is what, if you're a Tennessee fan, you were dreadful on offense in the first half, and Kentucky had a 50+% day shooting the 3 ball. If that's the way to beat you, then you can live with that, right?
Now, I'm still willing to say that Tennessee has a chokehold on Kentucky, even though they lost over the weekend.
I think chokehold is a strong word.
No, I don't think it's too strong at all.
Chokehold is Nick Saban in Alabama beating Tennessee from the years 2007 up until 2022.
No,
that's a chokehold.
That's different.
Right? Like hanging out at 500 against Kentucky, which is basically what Rick Barnes' record is good. It's great for Tennessee basketball. Chokehold, I don't know.
Why am I more impassioned about your basketball team than you are?
Oh, I love my basketball team, but I'm also very realistic.
No.
Tennessee has had great success in the Barnes era. Chokehold, that's like dynasty type of term. Chokehold. Like Kansas City has a chokehold on the AFC, right? Is that the same thing as what Tennessee basketball is doing in the SEC after winning our first outright regular season title since 2008?
I think you're just doing this because it's easy to take sides against me.
I'm a realist.
615-737-1045. That was a very disappointing result for Tennessee fans. Yeah, it's okay. Like, if they'd have lost, I don't know. You'd have been okay with it. Looking that way, especially that first half, it's just disgusting.
Well, they bounced back,
basketball.
and the performance was better in the second half. But yes, a dreadful offensive performance in the first half. Dalton finally hits 40, which is good. But again, I can live with Kentucky going crazy from 3 and barely winning in Thompson Bowling Arena after Tennessee already clinched the regular season title. I can live with it.
All right. Well, I had Vols and Cats at 12:45 today, but apparently we're going to do that now. Compensatory picks. The Titans got none. Why? We'll talk about it next. Welcome back to the show. Legal tampering, 13 minutes away. You'll start to see those contracts move pretty quickly. Diana Rossini is saying that she expects Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley to come off the board very quickly as soon as legal tampering begins. We were doing the primetime show last night. We were talking a lot about Derrick Henry. And a couple of people in the comment section brought up the idea that the two worst possible landing spots for Derrick, if you're a Titans fan, are Baltimore, because you hate the Ravens, and Houston, because they need a running back, and they've got money to spend. And Derrick in Houston would hurt a lot of people's feelings, I think, given the amount of success that he's had against the Texans. Nobody knows how good Derrick is better than the Houston Texans.
What would scare Titans fans more? Be honest.
That's what I was getting there.
Go ahead.
Saquon or Henry?
Yeah, in Houston.
What would scare Titans fans more would be Derrick. They don't have any kind of overwhelming fear of Saquon Barkley. They more fear playing Derrick Henry twice a year. Now, one game against the Giants in the 2022 opener is not enough to make them outright fear Saquon Barkley. But I will say,
I don't know.
Gut feeling, I think most Titans fans are going to look like, oh, my God, please don't let them get Derrick Henry. But from a football standpoint, I think Saquon Barkley might be able to do you just as much damage.
That's what I'm saying. I think Henry to Houston would hurt more, no question.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
those are two different things.
No, that would hurt more, absolutely. But in terms of purely football, I'd be more wary of Saquon in that offense as they continue to build around C.J. Stroud and that offensive line and a young, talented wide receiver core.
Yeah, the thing with Saquon, though, is he going to stay healthy, right? Because Derrick may still be there in week 18 when you go to Houston to end your regular season. I don't know if they're going to end their regular season in Houston this year, but just a hypothetical. The Titans travel to Houston to end the 2024 regular season, and there Derrick Henry is still ready to run through a mother bleeper's face, right? Except this time it's your face. You don't want that.
I mean, the preferred landing spot for Derrick from Titans fans of the ones we've talked about has to be Dallas, right? You'd rather see him in Dallas than in Houston in your division.
Well, you
want
him out of the conference.
Yeah.
You want him out of the conference for sure.
Just not playing for a rival.
Well, we'll circle back to the Derrick Henry. Derrick is basically going to be as big a talking point for us as it is any other NFL market this offseason for a variety of different reasons. But draft is around the corner. Legal tampering begins in 10 minutes. Full view now of how each team will be able to approach this upcoming NFL draft, because on Friday, after Lucas and I were off the air, they announced compensatory picks, 34 total picks across 14 different teams. Lucas, can you tell me, of those 34 compensatory picks, how many of the Tennessee Titans brought home?
Liam Neeson, did the Titans bring home any compensatory picks?
No. It's been a while since we've had Liam. Liam Neeson. Do the 49ers have a better understanding of the compensatory picks than any other NFL team in the league right now?
Yes.
Yeah, 5 for the Niners, and one of them courtesy of your general manager that was hired here away from San Francisco. The Titans don't have any comp picks, and just to kind of refresh, compensatory picks, teams are given them after they lose key free agents during the prior offseason, okay? They are determined, this is from the NFL's handbook specifically, determined by a formula based on salary, playing time, and postseason honors. If a team loses more key free agents than it gains, that mismatch will be factored into a formula by the league, and then they are eligible to then receive draft compensation. Basically, the Titans aren't losing anybody that's worth a damn, that's worth a compensatory pick.
Well, you got to build out a good roster before you can start playing chess, not checkers, to get those compensatory picks.
Yeah, and right now we're screwing around playing Connect Four.
Like Titans don't need to be worried about angling for compensatory picks right now. Just build a good football team. The Niners accomplished that a few years ago.
Sure, but this is a case study in Rich Get Richer. You know, because you mentioned chess checkers, and I'm just imagining some poor slap in the bowels of the Titans organization at St. Thomas Sports Park, just trying to get a Connect Four, okay? Just trying to get 4 in a row where you don't screw the whole thing up. And then, somebody got me in the corner.
Playing Battleship with free agency. B9.
It is funny, man. The Rams and Niners both a league high 5 additional draft picks. The 98th and 99th selections, quote, special compensatory selections are the categories after both teams lost assistant coaches this offseason. So that is D'Amico Ryans, and I don't know who the Rams lost that would have warranted a compensatory pick. What Rams acolyte got hired somewhere recently? I mean, you could probably guess any offseason. There's at least one.
Well, Liam Cohen, but he was coming from Kentucky.
Either way, we don't have to get bogged down. So this is the kind of thing that allows organizations like the Niners, like the Ravens, to have sustained success. Once you get to a point where you have, and listen, the draft.
Oh, Raheem Morris.
Yeah, but that was this offseason.
Oh, last offseason.
Last offseason. It's gonna bother me, but we'll look it up during the break. Point being, it's not just about, putting together the best roster, as Lucas said, and then riding out that window. You know how the best way to prolong your window is to figure out a way to get in the compensatory draft pick game. Now, you don't want to base your hiring practices solely off trying to get comp picks. You don't want to base your free agency strategy solely off trying to get comp picks. You have to be competent at this kind of stuff first, which the Niners and the Ravens and the Rams are. They understand how to game the system, and it's going to allow them to continue to stay relevant for as long as humanly possible. But that is the kind of thing that the Titans have yet to achieve. It's been a while since they've had legitimate compensatory picks. It's probably going back to like the offseason that they lost Conklin, right? I'm trying to think of Adoree', but Adoree' wasn't I guess Adoree' was a free agent because they changed the rules after they picked up Adoree' Jackson's 5th-year option and then decided, no, we don't want to mess with this, and just outright cut him. They changed the rules after that to where you couldn't pick up a player's 5th-year option and then just release him after the fact. But still, it's a part of the system. It's how these teams continue to stay competitive at the top of the heap, because it's not just about your first-round draft picks. It's about the meat of the draft, which, of course, occurs on day 2 and day 3. Russ to the Steelers. A couple of different quarterback transactions over the weekend. Free agency, or rather legal tampering, is getting ready to begin as soon as we come back next.
Let's ride.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios, and here we go. Legal tampering officially underway in the NFL as the new league year will officially start on Wednesday. Several deals that have already been reported, including quarterback Russell Wilson signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers on a one-year deal for vet minimum. The Broncos will pay him over $37 million this year after releasing him. Baker Mayfield will remain in Tampa, signing a 3-year deal worth up to $100 million, with 50 of it in guaranteed money. And centers flying off the board. The Jaguars have agreed to terms with former Bills center Mitch Morse. 2 years, $10.5 million, 7 of it guaranteed. The Raiders are keeping center Andre James. He signs a 3-year deal to remain in Vegas. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins has reportedly requested a trade after the Bengals placed the franchise tag on him this offseason. And in the AFC South, the Colts have reportedly agreed to a 3-year deal with wide receiver Michael Pittman, worth up to $70 million, $46 million of it in guaranteed money. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Okay, we are 2 minutes past 11 o'clock Central Time. It is time for legal tampering to get underway. Lucas, it's the first time of the offseason that it feels like we can really use it. Go ahead and give it to me.
Football.
Football. We're back, baby. Let's go. All right. The deals are going to start moving. Christian Wilkins, apparently a top target for the Vikings, Browns, Texans, and Lions. Texans also in on Saquon Barkley, according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic. This is going to be basically football heroin stuck into your veins for the next couple of days as we work our way through it. And the free agency doesn't even begin until Wednesday. A little bit like Christmas Day, yeah? Or is it Christmas Eve or is Christmas Day the better comparison here? Because you know what the presents are, but you can't officially open them until March 13th. So I guess is this like St. Nick's Day? Do you ever do St. Nick's Day where you get a present ahead of time? Maybe you get a shoe filled with candy. You know what I'm talking about?
No, did not practice St. Nick's Day in my household, but you did get the one early present sometimes on Christmas Eve.
Well, so we'll consider this Christmas Eve, even though you can't open any of your presents just yet. Looking around at the needs for this particular football team, we all know what they are. We have talked about this. Have you changed your free agent crush at all? Now and maybe free agent crush is too strong a term, but you had brought up the idea of running back Zach Moss last week, of who I think it's fair to expect the Titans to have some level of interest in. Whether he ends up landing here or not remains to be seen, but certainly an interest level there, especially after he just torched their asses last year with the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, because I think the Titans are invested in Tajay Spears and are not going to spend top-of-market money, however low that might be, with the running back market, whether that be Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley. So I don't know how much money Tony Pollard will get, but it feels like the Titans will bring someone in more in the mold of a Zach Moss.
Somebody by the way, you can call the radio show if you want to, 615-737-1045. That's the number. You can also live stream the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, where Taylor H. on YouTube says, Christmas is a consumerism travesty. Do gifts for New Year's instead. All right, well, you can pick another day to lobby against Christmas. Okay, Taylor? Not today. Let us all enjoy Christmas in March, for God's sakes. For me, I've gone back and forth on this a million times, all right? And there's just so many damn things that they need that I don't know what I want for them to get the most, but I keep coming back to the center, and I keep coming back to Lloyd Cushenberry because I think that is a solution that can give them some sustainability, some stability at that position for Will Levis for years to come without him having to further bring his own rookie center, a younger player, along. Not how you want to do it. Dawn has texted us and said, nothing more annoying than that football drop. Good.
Nobody seems to like it.
I like it. That's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing that I want for having my name on a radio show is the ability to play that sound whenever I want. And I don't call it for it as often as I want to. So moderation is key here.
You're lucky I like it too. Because I could hate it. And if I hated it, I would never click that button. Because that's the type of thing that if you hate it, you really hate it.
Jackson Matthews says, yo, Buck, tell Lucas I said 6969. That's still your passcode for your phone?
Unsubstantiated claims that it just won't stand for.
Russell
Libel,
Wilson's
slander.
Russell Wilson's going to be a Steeler. I don't know if his passcode is 6969 the way that Lucas's is.
Steelers country.
Let's ride.
Oh, God. Now, I'm going to say, if you engender yourself, or if you want to engender yourself to a fan base, you could do worse than putting out and it's not really a hype video, it's just a bunch of Steelers fans waving terrible towels with Renegade in the background is what Russell Wilson tweeted out yesterday. Or was it yesterday that he agreed to that deal? I don't know.
Over the weekend.
It's been moving fast, all this stuff. It's just going to continue to get there. So Russell Wilson is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Now, have you seen the reaction in Pittsburgh? Because, of course, this affects a variety of different things, including the quarterback draft, because it sounds like they're going to soldier on with Kenny Pickett on the roster instead of drafting a new quarterback. But Russ, as the bright, shiny new thing, is Russ socks for Christmas? Because that's how
he's cheap, right? He's cheap. It's not like they're paying for Russ. Guy's making vet minimum, right? Because the Broncos are paying the rest of it.
So the Broncos bought $38 million socks with holes in them and then re-gifted them to the Steelers, who paid $1.1 vet minimum for them. Russell Wilson is kind of like socks for Christmas because they are going to be competitive again. This does impact the quarterback draft substantially, which in turn impacts what the Titans are going to be able to do or maneuver around at 7 overall currently where they sit. But Mark Caboli has been a longtime Pittsburgh Steelers beat writer, and I was reading him getting ready for the show today at theathletic.com. But just the main takeaway is Russell Wilson could set the Steelers back years, so they better win now. I don't know if there's a move that Steelers fans could have gotten that would be less inspirational than Russell Wilson coming in to play quarterback, because it's not like there's anything. Are we just assuming that Russell Wilson signing there means he's going to be the starter? Or are we looking at this more like a Tannehill situation where Tannehill wasn't at the end of his career, certainly. He was still viable, just had dealt with a lot of injuries. Miami Dolphins fans have been sick of him. Miami couldn't wait to get him off the books. Now, not for the money that Denver did.
But similar, that Miami basically paid for him to come to the Titans. Right? The Broncos are paying for Russell Wilson to play quarterback for the Steelers.
If I recall correctly, Tannehill was on the books for about $7 million here his first year, which was a bargain, right? Because he ended up being the starting quarterback of a team that went the AFC Championship game. On and on it goes.
I think he expects to start where Tannehill came in probably understanding the situation, that he was going to start as the backup.
And he did. I remember that being very much the dialogue with Ryan Tannehill when he arrived here. Now, I'm kind of looking at Russ the same way, even though I'm sure that's not the way that Mr. Unlimited is going to approach this. Mr. Unlimited is about to become Kenny Pickett's nightmare. Is there a worse quarterback class in recent memory, by the way, than that draft class?
Pickett, Ritter, Malik.
Pickett, Ritter, Malik, Sam Howell. Who am I forgetting? Matt Corral.
Wow, yeah.
Terrible. So the question is, does this impact the landscape of the AFC at all in the same way that the betting odds said that the Broncos immediately became Super Bowl contenders when they signed Russell Wilson 2 years ago? The answer to that is obviously no, because I saw on DraftKings Sportsbook yesterday the odds for the Steelers winning the Super Bowl next year shifted exactly none before Russell Wilson and after Russell Wilson. Now, we're getting, Lucas, we're getting updates on who teams could pursue right now, and the Titans keep being mentioned among names, but more in the idea of the Titans and X could also be in the wide receiver market when talking about Calvin Ridley, but they're not being outright linked to Calvin Ridley.
Lloyd Cushenberry is the name that the Titans continuously are getting linked to by multiple reporters.
Well, it's funny because I had a conversation with a league executive the other day. And basically, the question was, what's the one free agent that you would want your team to sign? Now, your team being the team that I cover. But I went back and forth on this, and we kind of talked about the Chris Jones. I said, Chris Jones is going to cost a lot of money. He said, that's not the question, right? It's what's the one free agent that you would want the team that you cover to sign? And I came back to it, and I said, Lloyd Cushenberry, the center. So It sticks with this continued theme of trying to support Will Levis in as many ways as humanly possible. And I think that when you talk about this in particular, I don't think there's a better way to do that in this free agency class. Draft is different. Free agency class, I don't think there's a better way that they could do that with the resources that they have that is not going to break the bank, because the center is not going to be the most expensive offensive lineman. He's probably not going to make as much as the Eagles guard just did, Landon Dickerson. That seems to be the place that you should land. Apparently, that's per Benjamin Albright, that the Titans are the leading candidate to sign former Bronco. Benjamin Albright is based out of Denver. And, of course, the Broncos are in salary shedding mode because they're paying $38 million for Russell Wilson next year. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, I saw Kaharski stating that you should expect the Titans to be in on Cushenberry as well.
Well, there's a difference between being in on Cushenberry and
leading the way.
Yes, I would say.
Leading the way on a robust market. Another free agent running back off the board, DeAndre Swift from Mike Garafolo, agreeing to terms with Chicago on a 3-year, $24 million deal.
Well, and that falls in line with what people have been saying, which is that Saquon, the Eagles are expected to vigorously pursue Saquon Barkley, the Eagles and the Texans, which of course would be bad news if you're a Titans fan. So we'll keep you updated on this. We'll take your phone call. 615-737-1045 is the number. One position of need flying off the board. We're going to get into the center market coming up next. All right, running back getting a contract. We'll talk about what it means for somebody like Derrick Henry here in just a little bit. There's also a unexpected addition to the left tackle free agent market. Get into that here in just a second. Adrian is in Columbia up first. If you want to join the conversation, you got the phone number to do so, 615-737-1045. Hey, Adrian.
What's up? How's it going?
Good.
Yes, sir. Hey, I just want to say shame on you, Buck, for not agreeing with the child prodigy, a.k.a. voice of the baby angels, a.k.a. Lucas Panzica. And he agreed with, I think it's a guy named Adrian. He called in last week, and I think he was telling you Chris Jones is not signed until he signed. So I just wanted to say shame on you. And Chris Jones is my free agency crush. I hope you get him.
Oh, no. No, Adrian.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Buck.
You didn't see what happened, did you?
Oh, no.
Oh, this is a rare victory.
Oh, no.
A rare victory.
No, his initial point stands.
A rare victory for the people. This is a great day, Adrian. You called in here. You were prepared to have me eat crow, and yet you did not bother to refresh your Twitter timeline to discover that Chris Jones has been re-signed by the Kansas City Chiefs. You and the baby angel can eat it.
I'm sorry, Lucas. I let you down.
No, it's okay, Adrian. It's okay. No need to apologize. Your initial point still stands.
Oh, it's so good.
6:30 a.m. the tweet came out from Ian Rappaport this morning. 5 years, 158.75 base.
No, that wasn't this morning. That was yesterday, wasn't it? Either way, these contracts are all
he
over the
tweeted
place.
out the final numbers this morning.
The final
numbers.
numbers.
But you're right. It broke over the weekend.
Okay. Out of here, Adrian. To the shadows.
Over almost $32 million average annual value.
I mean, he's worth it.
Yeah.
He's the best interior defensive lineman not named Aaron Donald. Chris Jones. I don't think it's particularly close. And it's not just resume. I mean, the dude continues to be an ungodly menace in the middle of that defense. So, yes, I'm sorry. I would have been interested in seeing Chris Jones and Jeffrey Simmons, but alas. Now, there is a bit of news before we dive into this running back discussion. Deion Dawkins, longtime left tackle for the Bills, has just put out from his Twitter account, "It was good while it lasted, Buffalo." Peace sign emoji. What?
No, finish. I got something for you, but finish reading what Deion Dawkins posted on social media.
What, is it not the real Deion Dawkins? Did I get got?
No. It is the real Deion Dawkins.
Okay, I'm scared. Excited for my next chapter of my football career. Wonder if it's okay to eat ranch now. Why can't he eat ranch?
I guess that's the thing in Buffalo, that the wings are so pure that you're not supposed to put them in ranch, which the wings in Buffalo, incredibly overrated. But that's a conversation for another day.
What do you want?
Because Adam Schefter tweeted moments ago that Bills 3-time Pro Bowl left tackle Deion Dawkins is signing a 3-year, $60.5 million extension to make him the 4th highest paid tackle in the league and remain in Buffalo.
Wait.
So, yes, that is the real Deion Dawkins that posted a tearful goodbye.
10 minutes ago.
Yes.
He got a deal done. He got an extension in 9 minutes.
Top 5 highest paid tackles in football, Deion Dawkins.
No, wait, so we're sure that's his real account. That we're not just being gaslit?
That is Deion Dawkins' Twitter account. I mean, I don't know what other Deion Dawkins has.
I'm so confused.
Has 130,000 followers with the bio of Buffalo Bills 3-time Pro Bowler.
Speaking of not refreshing the timeline, says Preston Pitt. Yeah, I mean, I just got got.
Yeah, there you go, Adrian.
That's okay. Relax. That's complete. That's garbage.
I aligned with Adrian.
Well, all right. That mitigates that conversation. We can move on. What do you think he's doing? What do you think Deion Dawkins doing right now? Do you think he didn't know his agent was negotiating an extension?
He just tweeted, "Y'all are cray. Why would I ever leave Buffalo? I'm never leaving. I'm Buffalo
that's
for life."
Garbage. That is such a troll job.
I mean, didn't Jeff do something like similar to this? Didn't he post a little baity?
No, he deleted his Twitter
before
he shut his Twitter down.
I thought I remember Jeff doing something to kind of playfully mess the Titans.
No, he did, but it was while he was basically dormant on social media, then came back to rib Titans fans a little bit and said, "No, I'm just playing." I hate that. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. There's too many things going on today for us to have to worry about that for teams that need left tackles.
Tampering with the entire Bills fan base.
21 days too soon, says Deion Dawkins. Yeah, that's tough. Y'all were cray. Why would I ever leave Buffalo? I'm never leaving Guy. I'm never leaving Guy. I'm Buffalo for life with a bunch of snowflake emojis. All right, that's anticlimactic. I don't know how else to describe that.
That's funny.
Okay, so you still need a left tackle, and you can't have the Bills one. The running back market, though. So DeAndre Swift gets this deal. Deion Dawkins is going to be in my head for the rest of the day now. DeAndre Swift gets this deal. It's $8 million a year. Does that bode good or poorly for Derrick Henry? DeAndre Swift is 25 years old. He's coming off a career-best season with Philadelphia.
Just over 1,000 yards.
Sure, but it's still a career best.
Yep.
He's not a bad running back by any stretch of the imagination. The statistics were not overwhelmingly great. 4.6 yards per carry. Played 16 games this year. 5 rushing touchdowns. Caught 39 passes for just north of 200 yards.
Just turned 25.
Right. Thank you for listening. Tom Pelissero was reporting that 2 Indianapolis Colts defensive backs are being suspended for gambling.
You didn't mention his age.
I literally just said
No.
it. See, I can't check the tape on you because you are the person who controls the tape, and so you'll either erase the tape or just not go back to it, or bank on me forgetting, which is likely.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Does this help or hurt Derrick Henry? $8 million for DeAndre Swift. Because, frankly, I think it helps him a little bit. I think that's an overpay. If you're the Bears giving out $8 million a year running back contracts when nobody else seems willing to do that, I don't think there's anybody beyond Saquon or Josh Jacobs that should make north of $10 million a year, and it's probably right around $10 million a year if you're one of these 25, 26-year-old running backs. At the very, very top. DeAndre Swift is not that. I'm not going to say that he's underachieved. He's had success, relative levels of success with Detroit and then with Philadelphia last year. And it was kind of thought that they might bring him back on a new deal, but $8 million a year is more than I thought. I don't know. What is he like I don't know that I would put him in the top 5 of running backs who are out on the free agent market this year.
Derrick Henry absolutely, unequivocally should make more than DeAndre Swift.
I'm inclined to
off
agree
the
with
open
you.
market.
But, okay, so I'm inclined to agree with you. I think Derrick should make more. I think this helps Derrick's case because if you're going to look at if you're Todd France, who is his lead agent, Derrick's lead agent at Athletes First, you're going to look around and say, that guy? No. I don't. My guy doesn't miss time, okay? My guy was second in the NFL in rushing last year. Did you see the team that my guy played for? Imagine him on your team with a better situation than the worst NFL offensive line, I'm not going to say in the history of man, but they're pretty damn bad. Look at him. You're going to give that guy $8 million a year? No. Not so fast. I just don't know what that's going to look like for him. Because, Lucas, we're talking about a lot of different running back names, but nobody's really talking about Derrick Henry in the first wave of free agency, yeah?
I haven't seen anything.
Mm-mm. No, I continue to check back as often as humanly possible on hey, what's the vibes? And the vibes are shoulder shrugs from Derrick Henry's camp. I think that for this purpose, where DeAndre Swift is out there, where Saquon Barkley is out there, where Josh Jacobs is out there, I don't know how many more running backs are capable of cashing in on their, or I guess not cashing in, but living up to their value more than whatever it is that Derrick Henry's going to get. That contract feels like setting, I don't know, it kind of feels like setting DeAndre Swift up for failure a little bit because people are going to look around and be like, all right, an $8 million running back, that's legit running back money. You better perform. And I just don't know that that's the kind of player that you want to hitch your wagon to, but that's what Chicago's done. Now, Derrick, for reference, 17 games, 280 attempts, 1,167 rushing yards, 4.2 yards per carry, 12 rushing touchdowns. Had 28 catches just over. In fact, he and DeAndre Swift had the same number of receiving yards last year, Derrick Henry. No receiving touchdowns, 0 fumbles lost. Not Derrick Henry's best year, a down year by Derrick Henry standards, but still an incredibly impressive thing given how bad the team that Derrick Henry played for was in 2023. The position that we've talked about is center and trying to rectify the offensive line situation the most. So just kind of looking at the latest center contracts that have been doled out. You have Andre James, who goes back to Vegas on a 3-year, $24 million deal. Same money. Is a running back, think about that. Andre James, the 26-year-old center, and DeAndre Swift just got the same contract. Basically. Now, the guarantees are I don't know how the contract specifically is structured, and the cap hit might be different, and the guaranteed money might be different. But the idea that a center and a running back would get the same kind of contract value, does that surprise you at all?
It totally depends on the situation. So who are you talking about? Which center?
The Vegas center.
Andre James.
Yes.
Andre James is what, 26?
Mm-hmm.
Swift is 25.
Mm-hmm. One position is considered to be the least valuable in football these days. The other is considered by most smart football people to be arguably second only to quarterback for all the different things that the center is involved in, but you continue to see value there on the market.
It'll be interesting to see what the Raiders do at running back.
Without Josh Jacobs?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Just draft a dude. It's kind of, I know that's so simplistic and that you can't just get away with that in principle, but still. The positions that I feel like are going to take the biggest beating here: running back, safety, inside linebacker, and I hesitate to categorize center in that same discussion, but it does feel like it belongs in that same discussion. Agent Estant says left tackle is second to quarterback. I disagree. I'd say an interior defensive lineman that can give you a pass rush is second to quarterback. But you can debate positional value. Those are all premium positions, premium positional value: quarterback, left tackle, pass rusher, corner, whatever the case may be. The point is, center doesn't seem to be regarded that way. And I think that as you said, situationally it's different. Is a center more valuable here in Tennessee than they might be in Las Vegas, where you've got it? Well, you don't have a settled quarterback situation in Vegas, so I guess that's a bad example. What's an obviously settled quarterback situation? There is zero disputing that Patrick Mahomes is going to be the center or the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs next year. Does Patrick Mahomes require a center at the top of the market or a above average player at the position to be able to do his job? It certainly helps him. That's his partner in crime, right? As much as it is Travis Kelce. I'm blanking on the center that has problems with the low snaps for Kansas City off the top of my head. Creed Humphrey. So he's not the most important player there because sometimes he can be problematic. Titans had a solution there with Ben Jones that lasted several seasons, worked to their benefit, was as highly regarded in that locker room as any player that has come through this organization in recent memory. Was arguably one of the best free agent signings that this organization has made in 25-plus years.
I'd say the most important one that John Robinson made.
Indisputably, Danico Autry is second, but I don't think it's particularly close between Ben and Danico. Just
but as far
for
as
longevity and importance of the position.
Yeah, importance to the heights that they reached in that era, as short as it was.
Sure. So, for reference, Mitch Morse, the Jags signed Bills cast-off center, Mitch Morse. He got cut for salary purposes this year. It's a 2-year contract, $10.5 million. So 5.25 average. He has started 126 games in 9 seasons. He's been with the Chiefs and the Bills. Buffalo saved, 8.5, I believe, against their cap as they continue to try and shed cap. He's 31 years old. He's been regarded as a key locker room presence there. If you read the stuff coming out of Buffalo after he was released, it's like, all right, what do you do to replace not just the player, but the leadership void that Mitch Morse gives you in that locker room? That is, it's not a given that the center is going to be that kind of a figure, but they have the ability to be super influential across the board that way. So you're not just paying for the player, you're paying for the person as well if you're trying to bring in somebody like that. Denver, I don't know that they would want to let him go, but they have no choice because their money situation is in a wreck because of Russell Wilson's contract. And it seems like the Titans are going to be the beneficiaries of that.
And remember, Cody Whitehair's still out there. Was cut really early on by the Bears. Same age as Mitch Morse, the former Pro Bowl center for Chicago.
So just kind of going down the list, and we'll Spot Track is my favorite free agent tracker because you can enter a bunch of different qualifiers to be able to determine, all right, unrestricted versus restricted, where are they in their contract? You can do it by age, you can do it by team, you can do it by position. It's a really helpful tool. I come back, and listen, I don't, for example, Lloyd Cushenberry, the Broncos center, we're going to talk about him a lot. It sounds like they're going to be in on him to an extent. We'll see if they actually end up getting the deal done. If I said that I felt like the Titans have a lack of leadership in their locker room, do you feel I am being extreme with that? That I feel like there has just been a leadership void in the last couple of years in the Titans locker room. Now, Kevin Byard has been in that locker room the past couple of years. Who's another example of a
Jeff.
Jeff has been in that locker room the past couple of years. But that Azeez Al-Shaair came in as a free agent this year and was immediately voted captain among players that have been together for a period of time. And you know, Derrick Henry's obviously going to be a captain. Derrick Henry is included in this, by the way, but we know that Derrick is a different kind of leader, right? He leads by example, if not by extroverted leadership qualities. You don't have there's no one way to be a leader, quote unquote. But I feel like transitioning from one locker room into the locker room that I've been covering the past couple years, and I'm not in there every day, and hell, I'll be honest, I'm there at the practice facility a lot less nowadays than I have been in recent memory, where if I can go to practice one day a week, that's good. Plus game days, I'm obviously in there. But I feel after Delaney Walker, Wesley Woodyard, Jarrell Casey, Taylor Lewan, Brett Kern, Derrick Henry included, Kevin Byard included, in that discussion, that there was a pretty significant drop-off from players who could control the situation, who could govern from within, versus what we have now. Now, it's not for a lack of effort by Jeff or KB or Derrick or anybody. It's not like they weren't doing that, but it just didn't seem to resonate in the same way.
Well, the thing all those guys had in common is the last time the Titans made a regime change going from Malarkey to Vrabel, they were all holdovers from that Malarkey team.
And they made it a lot easier to transition from one coach to another, and a coach who worked far better with veteran players than he might have bringing along younger people, right?
So the biggest leaders in that locker room during that AFC Championship run were members of the team before Mike Vrabel got there, that you all just mentioned, Woodyard and Walker and Lewan and Jeff. So, or not Jeff, excuse me, but Jeff was a rookie.
And Jeff was a rookie.
Yeah, but KB, Jeff is the only one, in large part, that falls under that category in this regime change, right? That only alpha locker room leader that transitions over. I guess D-Hop is that to a degree.
Well, he's more like Henry.
Yeah.
You leave, and like he is a hugely influential person, especially on a wide receiver core that lacks all manner of direction. In the absence of, I don't know, just somebody. And listen, Tannehill, it sounds like people could have gone either way on the way that Tannehill kind of conducted business within the locker room, right?
But as far as cornerstone institutional pieces to the locker room, who can we confidently say falls under that apart from Jeff? Like, that's the biggest difference to me in what the Titans are trying to do in building this out now versus what they were trying to do with Vrabel. Vrabel obviously inherited a much better situation than Callahan is. But apart from Jeff, I mean, who can we put in that?
It's tough for me. It's kind of like the blue chip player discussion.
Landry, Brian, Daniel on the FNM Bank chat say Harold Landry.
But I don't know. Harold's always just kind of, does his job.
Yeah.
Gritty, tough, available, there for you.
Hooker.
Does his job.
Yeah.
Like, these are, and it's not like I'm not subtracting points from them because they're less overt, Anyway, we've got more free agency news. We'll continue to talk about this. We'll go through a couple of different scenarios. It sounds like one of the players. No, it doesn't sound like this is happening. One of the players that Titans fans were interested in signing from a divisional rival has just left the conference altogether. We'll tell you what's going on coming up next. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Below MSRP? Below MSRP. Below MSRP. It's pretty simple. Two Rivers Ford sells all new non-specialty Fords below MSRP.
You want the Laser Light Show? You want to do it? We got Titans news.
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
Okay. First reported by Aaron Wilson at KPRC2 in Houston. The Titans are expected to sign running back Tony Pollard per a league source. They are officially done with the Derrick Henry era. Now, that kind of speaks to the discussion that we were having, last week? What does complimentary to Tajay Spears mean? Because I think a lot of people looked at it and said, need some kind of bruising, goal line, short distance, back. I know we brought up the idea of Quadzilla, A.J. Dillon, or not we brought up, a caller brought up at some point in the last couple of weeks the idea of A.J. Dillon because he's not Tajay Spears. Well, Tony Pollard very much is in some form or fashion. He's as much a pass catcher as he is a running back. You're about to throw the ball. Tony Pollard in 2023 with the Dallas Cowboys. 252 rushing yards, just over 1,000 yards, 6 total touchdowns on the year. As far as receptions are concerned, he caught 55 passes. Good God.
Career high. It's crazy his numbers weren't way higher in receiving. He took a dip in receiving yards, but caught 16 more passes.
55 yards, 311 passes, caught 12 passes specifically for first downs, had a success rate of 43.3% as a receiver. So, you're throwing the ball. Giles says in the F&M Bank chat, you can react, by the way, 615-737-1045 is the number. Levis, he says Levis better get his arm loose. Well, that's more about a wide receiver that can run routes. So it's the same deal as Swift got. 3 years, not entire contract structure available to us, so we don't know exactly. But in theory, 3 years worth $24 million is the report on it. So that's $8 million on an average annual basis for running back when you've got Tajay Spears in-house.
And the Henry era is officially over.
How do we feel about that?
Expected.
Yeah. How do Titans fans feel about that?
Should be expected.
Is this closure now? Can we now consider this? We can. It's done. But I don't know how many people are going to come to terms with that. Now, if you're spending, again, I don't know what the cap hit is for 2024, so we'll see as that continues to come out. But I think that for Titans fans, they're probably looking around and saying, $8 million out of running back that's not Derrick Henry when we have Tajay Spears in-house?
Do you think Derrick Henry's going to make more money than Tony Pollard this year?
I think I'm biased on this, so I don't know if I could. I think he should. I don't know if he will.
I think he will.
I don't think he's...
And should.
Okay, but here's the difference, Lucas. Who's signing Derrick to a 3-year deal? Probably nobody. I don't imagine Derrick Henry's getting a 3-year deal at 30 years old and free agency.
Probably nothing more than a 2.
Right. So we're just talking average annual salary.
Yeah, average annual value.
Average annual salary.
Remember what Joel Corey told us when we had him on moments after the NFL salary cap was made official?
He said closer to 10.
2 for 20. And that's consistent with what Mike Giannitti of Spot Track told Ramon, Kayla, and Will a few weeks ago as well.
Again, I think he should. Will he? The NFL is going to determine that. He absolutely deserves it. If anybody deserves that kind of money on a contract to continue to deliver on value, it's Derrick Henry, more so than Tony. Now, Tony Pollard played all 17 games last year, to his credit. He was hugely available.
He's always been available.
He had a
missed one game
ACL.
In 2022.
Well, he had an ACL tear a couple of years ago at the end. But that was at the very end of their season. I think it was in the last game, if I remember correctly.
And he was back. He was back early the following season.
And was still sniffing around behind Zeke, or the corpse of Zeke Elliott at the time.
Yep.
So to say that he has been available, yes, absolutely. This is a different kind of compliment than I think a lot of people are expecting. This is exactly the kind of compliment you would make to Tajay Spears if you were trying to drastically change the which and way you were going to play football.
It was not an ACL. It was an ankle injury. Yeah, it was an ankle injury at the end of the 2022 season.
Some other free agency signings. The Vikings worked aggressively. This is Alec Lewis of The Athletic. The Vikings worked aggressively and are signing former Texans pass rusher Jonathan Grenard, per source. A big move, securing a young edge with high upside, likely to fill the shoes of Danielle Hunter, who is also an unrestricted free agent. Also, in left tackle news, David Bakhtiari has announced on his Instagram, we'll see if this is like Deion Dawkins or if this is an actual release, but that he is done with the Packers after 11 seasons. So, Pollard and Spears, that's your backfield. 615-737-1045 is the number. We can continue to talk about it because the final hour is next. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you, as they have helped guys for over a decade who have dealt with things like erectile dysfunction. No need to get negative about it. No need to freak out. They are here to help you work through that process in as healthy a way as humanly possible. They've done this for a decade. The urologists and providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic have these kind of treatments that they work through all day, every day. ED and weight loss treatments that can truly change your life is what they offer. Their urologist-based practice with multiple providers has been focused on the highest outcomes and treatments with the best success rates, as high as 90%. A lot of dudes go in after pills and herbals have failed them. They're there to help you. You don't have to worry about surgery. They have multiple urologists and providers in downtown Nashville and in Cool Springs to take care of you. It's time to feel amazing and hit your goals in 2024. They understand how easy it is to schedule either same-day or next-day appointments. They're there to work through the process with you. So get treatment for ED knocked off the list early this year. They specialize in seeing guys who think they're out of luck and want to regain hope that they can reach peak performance again. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go online to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com and book an appointment today.
It is 11:58. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. Legal tampering officially underway in the NFL, and the deals are flying. The Tennessee Titans reportedly are signing former Cowboys running back Tony Pollard on a 3-year deal worth $24 million. Those numbers courtesy of Ian Rappaport, as the Titans will bring the Memphis native back to his home state. Around the NFL, edge rusher Jonathan Grenard is signing a 4-year, $76 million deal in Minnesota that includes $42 million guaranteed. The former Texan heads north as star edge rusher Daniil Hunter of the Vikings remains a free agent. Also, David Bakhtiari, the 5-time All-Pro left tackle, is leaving Green Bay. The Packers are releasing him after 11 seasons with the team. He has said his social media goodbye. Another running back deal. The Bears have agreed to terms with running back DeAndre Swift on a 3-year deal, also worth $24 million per multiple reports. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Okay. Titans got a new running back. His name's not Derrick Henry. Tony Pollard is here to join Tajay Spears in the backfield. Welcome back to the show. We're happy to have you. 615-737-1045. That's how you can let your thoughts be known on the Titans signings. Current, who you want, who's still out there. Deal's going to continue to keep moving. Mixed results just based on the F&M Bank chat, though if I based anything off the F&M Bank chat in my life, I would probably be led down a deep, dark path that I don't want to go down. But seems like the majority of you are satisfied with the signing of Tony Pollard as a complimentary piece. The idea that this is not a need for people is funny to me, that you don't need another running back. You don't need one great running back. You need a couple of good running backs to get you through the way that the NFL currently conducts business. And I think that the only need that you don't have clearly and obviously on this roster is punter at this point. Hassan Haskins has not proved himself to be any kind of viable. New coaching staff, new general manager, well, not newish general manager that did not draft Hassan Haskins should basically relegate him to special teamer anyway. And for those of you who are hell-bent on having a true blue ground and pound running back, tough. You're going to get a different kind of offense nowadays. Doesn't hurt to have him. Doesn't mean you need him. Tajay Spears is your 3-down running back. That's how this move should be viewed. Now, Pollard for $8 million a year as a complimentary piece does not exactly, I don't know. I don't think people are going to view that as a complimentary piece, and nor should it, by the way. I just don't think, starting running back, does it matter who ends up starting the game at running back when you have two like this?
No.
This is exactly why you make this kind of signing, guys. Derrick Henry, for all of the great things that Derrick did, what's the biggest complaint about Derrick Henry as a part of your offense?
Predictability.
You tip your hand as soon as he's on the field. With these two, you can continue to run multiple things out of the same formation that does not tip your hand because they are of similar skill sets. And I don't think that Pollard is outright a 3-down running back the way that I think Tajay Spears has the potential to be. But I just don't think you have to get caught up in starting running back anymore. I don't think you have to get caught up in starting wide receiver anymore. Which players are out there on the first offensive snap of the game is all starter means, guys. Whether that's a 2 tight end set, whether that's 3 wide receivers, whether that's heavy personnel, whatever the case may be. Starting running back is not something to get caught up in. Offensive weaponry is what you're trying to add that satisfies a part of that checklist.
What should we expect as far as how their touches will stack up next to each other? Pollard and Spears, how close we should anticipate it to be.
I mean, I have no idea how to answer that question today, to be honest with you. To use Cincinnati as an example, I don't think it's fair either because Joe Mixon did so much of the work there. They didn't really have a complementary piece. They at times, what was the LSU running back that was there for a couple of years? Well, no, wait, I'm thinking of Gio Bernard, and there was another LSU running back that I'm blanking on. But then after that, it was basically Joe Mixon's show.
Travion Williams.
They've had a couple of guys come through there. Point being, I don't think that you can outright, because people are now just guessing numbers. You have no idea, right? I have no idea until we see this thing play out. Again, I think it depends on matchups. You're just trying to play a matchup game here, guys. So if Tony Pollard is out there for the majority of snaps on one game and Tajay Spears gets the bulk of the snaps on the next game, I'm not going to be bothered by it. If it doesn't work out exactly 50-50, if it's 70-30, 60-40, whatever the case may be, I don't care as long as they're not predictable. And that is what you're trying to avoid with something like this. 615-737-1045 is how you can let your thoughts be known on the Titans' one free agent signing to date. Legal tampering going on. Doesn't mean that this is going to continue through the afternoon, so you're going to want to keep it right here on 104.5 The Zone, because Blaine and Mickey are going to cover this exhaustively, as will 3HL on after that, and continuing to go year over year over year, or excuse me, basically minute over minute as the transactions continue to pour out. Bengals are re-signing tight end Drew Sample, which takes a tight end option off the board with familiarity with Brian Callahan. He's getting a 3-year contract extension through the 2026 season. David Cushenberry, Titans legend, and Blake Brandel are being re-signed by the Vikings. And as I mentioned, David Bakhtiari has officially announced on his Instagram his release from the Packers.
11 years.
That's an eternity.
5-time first-year All-Pro.
He was a stud when he was right.
First team All-Pro.
When he was right, he was an absolute stud. Green Bay hasn't had to worry about offensive line stuff in a while. All right, let's go to the phones. Bam in Nashville up first. Hey, Bam.
Tragic day, man.
Why is that?
Day.
What do you mean tragic?
Well, I mean, for Titans fans, let me say this. For people that are Titans fans that have grown with Derrick Henry and felt like maybe we could have made, he's like the last of the Higgins. You know what I'm saying? That was our superstar. That was our homebred dude. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I'd feel better if he wasn't the same Derrick Henry. But the dude still got so much juice left. We just had a bleep show, as you would say, offensive line. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, man, why do I want to get? I don't know, man. It's just like, it's like being at a real life funeral right now, man. It's terrible, but like, I was hoping we could have kept him. But Pollard is, I guess you got the same guy in a different uniform, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I do understand what you're saying about predictability and everything else. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But, Derrick won your heart, man. So it's just kind of one of them things.
No, and I get that. Because he put you on the map, right? There's not a player in the what's a player that's made the Titans matter as much as Derrick Henry has in recent memory?
Have not had one.
You can't.
Since
I love Jarrell Casey. You can't say Jarrell Casey. I love Kevin Byard. You can't say Kevin Byard.
He's the biggest star that they have had since the McNair and Eddie George years.
Correct. There are maybe you could count on one hand definitely how many players have made the Titans matter as much nationally, have made people pay attention to you even when they don't want to pay attention to you more than Derrick Henry. He's the front of the marketing. He is your identity. He is who you have been to your core for each of these last 8 years in ways that I don't think anybody save Eddie George could really, really continue to embody.
Chris Johnson. Biggest since Chris Johnson. Because Chris Johnson was that.
Yes.
Just an absolutely electrifying superstar talent.
Now, do you have to treat today like a funeral? No, of course not. I mean, listen, I'm sure it was doom and gloom when Eddie left and signed with the Cowboys, and he's talked about that publicly. It was just time for him to move on. It's time for Derrick Henry to move on, guys. You don't have to have your parade rained on just because. And listen, I'm not discounting the emotional attachment. Like I said, I've done every one of his games. I've gotten to cover what I believe to someday be a Hall of Fame career. I'm grateful for that. He is an incredible player. He is as good a person as you will come across in this business. Not that it matters, I guess, because bad people can be good football players, but still, that he was a damn near perfect embodiment or representation of your franchise does hurt a little bit today. But you don't have to treat it like a funeral. It seems a bit dramatic to me. Jeremy in Nashville is next. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, what's going on, Buck? Yeah, it's not a funeral. You can't treat it like that.
Did I screw up, Lucas?
Oh, it went terribly wrong.
What happened there? Was that my fault? Okay, Jeremy, I'm sorry. Let's try this.
Pollard does open up the opportunity for the offensive schemes to be more versatile based off of what the defenses that you might be playing, from week to week, give you options to try to game plan for instead of just this is what we do, this is what it is, So definitely being able to be versatile with the kind of schemes that they're going to be able to run week to week will definitely help the offense be more, capable of maybe producing points once they obviously get that offensive line fixed. So hopefully Callahan will be able to do that. Love the show, Buck. Talk to you later, man.
Thanks for the call. I'm sorry for screwing up your thoughts there.
Is there a team in the NFL that will be more different to prepare for defensively than the Titans year to year?
No.
No way, right?
I don't
no
think
matter
so.
what.
I mean, you could have argued the Ravens last year, but even still, Lamar now threatens you in. But Lamar always could threaten you as a passer. The Lamar stuff has always been way over discussed.
Like it's with the Ravens, it's not as simple as just keep Lamar in the pocket. Like that. The Ravens have won plenty of games with Lamar in the pocket, but with the Titans, 1A, 1B, 1C is shut down 22. You probably win the game, and now it's going total departure from that.
JR is calling us from Mississippi. Up next. Hey, JR.
Hey, how you doing?
We're
how
good.
How you doing, Buck? I'm so excited, man. It's a party in South Mississippi. Spears and Pollard, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Hey, I love Derrick Henry to death. That style of football, man, we're moving away from that. The NFL is moving away from that. That's not what we're doing anymore. For those of you who are so upset about Henry being gone, hey, man, this is a good thing, man. Like we're getting into the future now. We're not doing that old school run the ball. No, that's not how people win the Super Bowls nowadays. That's all I got, Buck.
Well, I mean, it is how you win playoff games late. Listen, you're running, you're still going to run the football. If you look at the best offenses in the NFL, whether it be the Chiefs, whether it be Joe Burrow's Super Bowl contending Bengals, you look at the Bills when Josh Allen, and I know Josh Allen shoulders so much of the workload as far as their running game goes. But the best offenses in the NFL have a hugely efficient rushing attack.
And what do they all have in common as well?
A passing game that's going to be able to allow that running game to be more efficient, a more complementary team.
An elite quarterback.
I think you can have an efficient running game without an outright overtly efficient quarterback. An elite quarterback. I think Purdy is a very, very specific example, but the 49ers are a run-based offense that rely on the quarterback's decision-making, pinpoint precision as far as his ability to execute their game plan goes to allow that running game to operate and they have a different collection of skill position players that let them be versatile and allow that running game to eat. And they can run the ball with a variety of different players, including McCaffrey and Debo and a bunch of different dudes out of the backfield. They can get creative with it in ways that other teams can't. You're just trying to add a level of creativity here. Your running game, I don't think it's going to outright dissolve. But the days of a 2,000-yard running back, I mean, doesn't it feel like that dies with Derrick Henry a little bit? Like a bell cow running back. Who else in the... All right, we've got breaking offensive line news. Let's get to it. Coming up next. Can I interest you in a brand new shiny center? Go ahead and give me the laser light show right now, Lucas.
Breaking Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
Yes, indeed. The Titans are signing former Broncos center Lloyd Cushenberry to a new deal. Former third-round pick out of LSU has started 57 games in the last 4 years with Denver. I believe Ari Myrov is the first person that I had it. I am able to confirm. Remember what I said to you about saying that was the biggest priority that I had for this team in free agency. That is something that they have stuck to this entire time. They were looking for veteran center help for a young quarterback to ease the degree of difficulty on him as much as humanly possible. Titans get their guy in Lloyd Cushenberry. Congratulations to you.
So within an hour and 20 minutes of legal tampering officially starting, you get a back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher coming back to his home state, Pollard, a Memphis native, former Memphis Tiger, and your veteran center.
So a couple of notes on Lloyd Cushenberry that I just texting vigorously during the commercial break, trying to get some background on the guy. Apparently he had other offers, lots of other offers, but that the AFC South opportunity for the money made the most sense for him.
Which we don't have yet?
I'm sorry?
Which we don't have yet.
I don't have contract details yet. I haven't seen them yet either. Okay, never mind. Sorry. That's not a Titans transaction that just came across. Anyway, so what I know about Lloyd Cushenberry, or what I can tell you about Lloyd Cushenberry, not a big talker, works hard, salt of the earth kind of guy, grit and grind, and actually, big enough to play the center position, which has been a sticking point here the last couple of years. Might be tough as a $2 steak, but probably plays a little better. Maybe not quite a filet, but you take a nice ribeye. You like a ribeye? I like a ribeye. Lloyd Cushenberry, a ribeye. So, I think the Titans fans should feel as good about that signing as any other that they're going to make through this free agency process. I think that's as important a deal as could be done. Wide receivers, by the way, Gabe Davis apparently agreeing to a 3-year deal with the Jaguars.
All right, Calvin Ridley.
Come on down.
Somewhere. That's not Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's here.
I think that, well, again, the Jags compensation that they would have to give Atlanta back for re-signing Ridley is a real kind of crook here.
This all but rules out Ridley returning to Jacksonville.
Yes, I would say so. I would agree with that assessment. Now, what we are going to see in the next couple of hours, in the next couple of minutes, hell, by the time we get off the air, I would expect there would be at least one more transaction that would come down. But keep your head on a swivel. Cannot be overstated how important it is to improve at this particular position. 615-737-1045 is how you react. Matt is up next in Nashville. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Going
good.
I
just wanted to touch on Pollard and the signing there. I know it's not a great deal on him, with the coming off the ankle injury. I know they're kind of betting on him getting back to what he was. But if he can get back to that, I think that combination of him and Spears in the new Titans offense with, Callahan, coaching this thing, kind of in like a Bengals scheme, he said, or whatever. I think that's going to be a great signing. And, with the center signing, like you guys just said, I think that kind of adds to this and, the direction that the team's moving.
Thanks for the call, Matt.
He is not coming off an injury.
Pollard?
Right.
He is not. No, correct.
Yeah, that ankle
2 years
injury,
ago.
That was the end of the 2022 season.
Why did I think that was an ACL? Either way.
He was healthy last season, played all 17 games.
He sure did. Now, these are pro football focused numbers, so it may differ slightly from how the Broncos would have graded Lloyd Cushenberry out. But in 1,070 offensive snaps last year, he was penalized 5 times. He only allowed 1 sack, only allowed 4 quarterback hits, only allowed a total of 14 pressures. Again, these are pro football focused grades. Does not mean that is how the Titans would grade him. Does not mean that's how the Broncos would have graded him last season, but just based on the metrics that we have available to us. He was one of these 2020 guys that came out and I think overachieved by any metric.
3rd round pick.
Mm-hmm. And looking at how this offensive line, so it's not just about Levis, right? Stability for Skoronski, for God's sake. Justice for Peter Skoronski after last year. A rookie offensive lineman on a bad offensive line, the worst offensive line, arguably. That dude needs as much guidance and as much help as does Levis in year 2. You knock out multiple needs here. You check multiple boxes with this. It's more than just 2 birds, 1 stone. But on foundational, cornerstone, potentially, pieces that you've drafted organically, Spears, Levis, Skoronski, this is a tide that lifts all ships. If you get a left tackle in the draft process, you're cooking with gas. You have Bill Callahan here as an asset, arguably the league's best offensive line coach, and it might not even be arguable. Jeff Stoutland's still in Philadelphia, right? He didn't retire. I don't
believe
think
so.
So, that is something to keep an eye on. Do you keep Brewer as a backup?
Free agent, right?
Mm-hmm. Is Aaron Brewer on an NFL roster next year?
It feels like a Mike Vrabel tie that probably won't be around. Aaron Brewer.
I'm good on the $2 stake. I'm all set. If he wants to play fullback, well, they're not going to use a fullback around here anymore.
Cushenberry started all 16 games his rookie year for the Broncos. His NFL debut was against the Titans in that 2020 season opener, that late Monday Night Football game.
That was such an ugly game, too.
Empty
Neither
stadium.
team could get anything done.
I keep doing that. The Gostkowski game, where he tried to take off the sock and ultimately ended up winning it.
Ooh, there's big breaking NFL news, not Titans news. Quickly, light show.
Breaking sports news on 104.5 The Zone.
Adam Schefter, former Dolphins defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, is signing a 4-year, $110 million base value deal that includes $84.75 million in guaranteed money. He is going to be a Las Vegas Raider in 2024 per his agent, David Mulugeta.
Oof.
That's big money. Big money for that guy. I would have liked to see, if you're going to prioritize spending anywhere, I feel like I've been saying this for weeks, so forgive me if I'm in reruns, but I thought Veteran Center was the biggest spend that you could justify to me this offseason for the Titans. I was certainly not unwilling to hear the arguments for pairing Jeffrey Simmons with a legitimate, and there's still quality guys out there. Like DJ Reader is somebody who's been floated around a lot. He's more in the Tier Tart mold, more in the nose tackle mold, to be a complement to Jeff. But without Autry, without Tart, you need help on the defensive line. Not that Christian Wilkins was ever in consideration here. I don't believe that he was. But that's a big deal for Vegas.
So they re-sign Andre James, bring over Christian Wilkins. What in the world are they going to do at quarterback?
Trade up.
From 12.
13. And I'm probably going to flesh this out once we get through the first couple of waves of free agency at A2ZSports.com. But the idea of trading back for the Titans, I think this lends itself more to the idea that they might. And I think that's because of, it's dependent upon 2 things. We won't get too far ahead of ourselves, and we'll see what they do at wide receiver, because I would still expect them to make a wide receiver move. I don't know that it's going to be top end like Calvin Ridley. I know that the Titans are in need of wide receiver. They would be fool not to call on basically everybody just to inquire, hey, price, contract length, guaranteed money, what are we talking here? We got needs. We're throwing the ball this year. What can we give your guy, or what can your guy give us? I am inclined to think that a team like Vegas might make an appealing enough offer to come up to 7. And we know that they've already been in contact. We've talked about that before. but I think the viability of that makes a lot of sense. So needs, just kind of to refresh, Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, those are the two reported deals according to multiple reports that we are able to confirm. Those are the two free agents that they have signed currently. Shall we take a look back down the list of needs that they still need to have? I've got a checklist.
Basically, we take running back off the list.
Yeah, because you still need depth along the offensive line. Running back, basically that solution is or that problem is. I don't want it solved. Seems a bit extreme.
It is. I mean, there will be.
You feel good about them.
Yeah, there will be depth pieces. I mean, Hassan Haskins, Jonathan Ward. I don't know. Julius Chestnut. I don't know what his situation will be, but largely that position is resolved at the top.
Forgot about Chestnut.
Sticks around.
Well, he's certainly under contract. Now, to kind of work our way back through this, still could use a guard / right tackle. Swing, let's call it a swing offensive lineman. Still would like to see them add a swing offensive lineman, whether that's somebody, Michael Winner is probably going to be too expensive, though I wouldn't rule them out completely. He plays both right tackle and right guard. You still need a corner. You still need an inside linebacker. Lucas, I don't know that they have an inside linebacker on this team.
They don't. Not really.
Gibbons and Chance Campbell are not something that you want to hitch your wagon
to. Is Gibbons under contract?
He is restricted. I believe he is restricted.
So okay.
So let's just, because defense, they got defensive needs all over the damn place. Nose tackle. Well, let's just say interior defensive lineman, because Autry played both edge and inside. We'll say interior defensive lineman and an edge player. I don't think you're going to necessarily be able to find one player to do two jobs the way that Danico was, unless you're going to bring back Danico. So we'll see. They didn't extend him. We'll see what the market bears out for him. You need a safety. You need two inside linebackers. So for all the time that we've spent talking about offense, you don't need to be a defensive first team in today's NFL, but you can't have a bunch of tomato cans out there. So defensive line, secondary, linebacking core, edge rush, you need all four of those things.
Where do we expect them to spend the most defensively? I'd be fine with them spending at corner. You seem to be wary of that. But otherwise,
I'm not wary of them outright, but if basically the scenario that we posed is, would you rather pay for a corner or a wide receiver? I would prefer to spend money on a wide receiver than a corner. I think those corner contracts can blow up in your face a lot more. Apparently, according to Diana, there was discussions about Christian Wilkins going to the Colts. Aren't you glad that didn't happen with DeForest Buckner and Christian Wilkins bearing down on you?
I mean, now it's Wilkins and Crosby.
Yeah. Has Max Crosby ever had another? I know Chandler Jones was not the same, though, by the time he got to Vegas.
No.
I don't know that he's ever had another, real complimentary piece there to play with. He's been kind of a one-man band for quite some time at this point.
They drafted, remember Cleveland Farrell?
Yeah.
Top 5.
Didn't do anything. He was he was a fourth pick,
yep.
I think.
And he's been, now he's obviously a Niner.
Inside linebacker is a position that I would be surprised to see them spend a lot of money on, but there are a couple of nominees out there, least of which is Patrick Queen, who has connections to Denard Wilson, who's coming off a much better season than he had. He had kind of been disappointing a little bit in Baltimore the first couple of years there as a former first-round pick. Patrick Queen would be interesting here. Azeez Al-Share would be more cost-effective, though he did well to earn himself some money here in Tennessee, certainly. The problem is you need two of them. So it's a matter of, do you want to spend more on Patrick Queen and draft an inside linebacker? Do you want to spend a little less on Al-Share, bring him back? You've got familiarity. You know that he's somebody who can play well within the designs of a system like that. I would say, though, Lucas, between corner and defensive lineman, and I don't want to just use the nebulous term defensive lineman, because they've got to have an inside presence that can get after the passer. They've got to have somebody to help Jeff. Jeff can't do it by himself. Jeff and Harold can't do it by themselves. 2020 proved that in spades. So, yeah, I mean, well, Eric Armstead's out there too, but the fact that the Niners released him, they're just going to draft another first-round defensive lineman to add to the list of guys that they've had. The deal for Gabe Davis, reportedly 3 years, $39 million. Incentives could get him to $50 million over the course of that 3-year deal. Does that surprise you based on what we know of the wide receiver market? That's a very inconsistent player. People know Gabe Davis because of the famous Bills-Chiefs playoff game where he went crazy, and it's Josh Allen and Mahomes toe-to-toe, and they changed the overtime rules as a result of it. But I bet Bills fans were fine to let him go, given the level of. You remember Torrey Smith?
Yep.
He got a little Torrey Smith vibes to him, where he can go, he can have 5 catches for 175 yards in a game and then completely disappear the next week.
3 years, $13 million average annual value before the incentives. I mean, at what point are we going to stop being shocked?
I'm not
by numbers like that.
No, wide receiver numbers don't shock me. $13 million for Davis, though. Says somebody in the F&M Bank chat, that's crazy low. Again, it's not crazy low. He's an inconsistent player. That's just about right.
Yeah, I was good on Gabe Davis.
I am as well. Hollywood Brown should make more than that. Calvin Ridley will obviously make more than that. 615-737-1045 is how you can react. Chris Fleming says, are we keeping Danico Autry? Well, your time to retain him before he hits the open market is done. So it's not to completely close the door on the idea of Danico, and I think that Danico would make a lot of sense if he's out there for long enough. Tyler Francis says typical Jags overpay. Jags aren't really overpaying at this point. They had the we suck luxury tax a couple of years ago. Now your team is currently paying the we suck luxury tax for a couple of these guys. Because it's my understanding you had to, and listen, free agency is a process of selling. It's not just about selling a team on the free agent. The free agent has to be sold on the team, and the Titans are not going to be looked at as an overwhelmingly opportune spot except for guys who want a payday. That's to your advantage right now. So I wouldn't turn my nose up at overpaying right now. You're getting ready to be in the business of it if you're not already. I accidentally hung up. I'm so bad with the phones lately, Lucas. I keep trying to so whoever just called us, you can call back. I'll try to do that a little better. Just to answer your question, though, it's a long way of talking around it. Corner is probably the place that you would see the next biggest money spent. Now, that's just gut feeling, and based on where the market valuations are, I don't know for sure that they're going to sign a top-flight corner, but if you're talking about percentage of money spent, I would expect to see it somewhere in the secondary if it's not at safety at corner.
Yeah, the Titans have, outside of Roger McCreary, nothing at corner.
Can I interest you in Trey Avery?
Like, you are rebuilding that position almost from scratch with the exception of McCreary.
Yeah. It's a top-to-bottom type of situation.
So, value signing and draft pick, not enough. Not going to be enough to address that room.
No. This is a good corner draft. Okay. Last call for phone calls already. 615-737-1045. That's okay. You can continue to keep up with Blaine and Mickey with 3HL after that, and it's not just today. Today just opened the legal tampering period. Again, guys, free agency doesn't officially begin until Wednesday. That's when all these deals can actually be agreed upon. So we'll take more of your phone calls. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. All right. How we feeling? I don't think I've ever seen you guys this excited about a center signing. It's offensive line coach and centers. All hot and bothered for the big guys. That's how it should be. Welcome back to the show, 615-737-1045. By the way, if you want an incredible breakdown of your future free agency and draft class, make sure you get those tickets to the Install Live show. Greg Cosell, and Greg's actually flying in this weekend. Do you know that? Greg's going to be here for the SEC tournament. Going to watch some college hoops with us. What are you eating right now that you should be? We have literally 16 minutes left in the show. You couldn't be bothered to wait 16 minutes before you started shoveling your face full of something?
I got things to do.
What do you have to do today? Besides ask me what kind of clothing choices you should make for your Apple TV show. Big television star now after telling me that I try too hard on game days is in the process of trying too hard.
You try too hard on game days because who are you dressing up for? Are you on camera?
No, it's for me.
No, you're just showing up. But Navy on Navy. Some people say it's okay, some people say it's not. I don't know the rules to these things, and it drives me insane. It's
now
like
that you
calculus.
have to care, it sucks, doesn't it?
Why? Why do there have to be rules?
What are you eating?
Hibachi.
Mark in Murfreesboro's next. Hey, Mark.
Hey. So listen, I like this pick. I like these picks. Question though, I'm no coach, so I got to get some advice from you guys. But do you guys think they signed Pollard because the needs of Tajay? They probably won't last 4 years, is what I'm hearing. I mean, I'm no expert either on that, but I heard that his needs won't last 4 years. So you think it's an insurance policy?
Oh, sure. Any positional depth is an insurance policy. It's got his knees didn't look like they bothered him last year. Yeah. It's got less to do with that than the fact that you needed another running back. Tajay Spears is a completely viable option. I don't care about 4 years. I care about next season. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to, I hope Tajay Spears has a healthy, long, successful career. He's an incredible person to get to know. He's one of the most interesting people that's been on this roster, and he's only been here for a year. So I hope that Tajay Spears has as much success as his body will allow for him to have. It's hard to do at the running back position. It's got nothing to do with Tajay's knees. It's got to do with the fact that you need a complement. You need somebody who's not going to be a dead giveaway every time you change running backs on the field the way that Derrick Henry was. Now you've got that. They've got a similar skill set. It's got nothing to do with that. So
Jeff Howe, real quick, reporting that the Jags are still hoping to retain Calvin Ridley, per source.
Yeah, but still hoping to retain him. You can retain him. It's just a matter of price point, I guess. And then you have to give up a second-round pick to the Falcons. I just can't imagine a situation where you'd sign. So who's on the Jags wide receiver? We'll take a look at the AFC South tomorrow, actually. We'll save that because there will be a lot more transactions throughout the course of this. Right now, your offensive line situation looks much improved just with the addition of Lloyd Cushenberry alongside Peter Skoronski. You still need, I would argue, 3 other positions on the offensive line. You definitely need a new left tackle. I don't want to see Daniel Brunskill start unless you absolutely have to, and that should be more as a depth coming in for injury guy as opposed to a starter. He's not a good starting player. He's a competent depth player. And NPF has shown me precious little, but if you can salvage any one of these guys that exists on the roster, I'd probably give NPF the best percentage chance. Still, I think he leaves a lot to be desired. Transactionally, we talked about the Bengals re-signing their tight end, which takes a tight end off the board. Do you think it's more likely the Titans draft a tight end or sign one in free agency this year? They need one.
7 picks. You've got 2 on the roster that you drafted within the last 2 years. If they do draft a tight, I'm going to say the second. Sign one.
And just like
it's not a very good tight end class outside of Bowers.
Well, it's not a great free agent tight end class either. But you don't. I mean, theoretically, if you think Chig is starting caliber, and there's some questions about that for sure, but perhaps he can thrive in a new system under a new coaching staff.
Hayden Hurst still a free agent.
He is. Noah Fant is also out there as well, but that's That's more a 1B type of tight end option. But again, I don't know that you have a 1A tight end. Neither of those two, Wiley or Chig, has proven much of anything to date. So there's still a great many positional needs. Defensively is where I would turn my attention to. Not that you have to do these things in any kind of order, but defensively they need as much starting help as they do depth. Starting corners, plural. McCreary is a better inside corner than he is an outside corner. I would argue that you need 2 starting outside corners. I would argue there's no argument. You need another starting safety. You need another depth safety as well. You need 2 starting inside linebackers, depending on what kind of base defense that you're going to run. You need another starting defensive lineman. You need 2 starting defensive linemen alongside Jeff Simmons right now. And you could probably do with another pass rusher because Arden Key is inconsistent at best. Uzoma's out there too, C.J. Uzoma. And he's been in the Nashville area actually, I don't know if he's still here right now, but he's been in Nashville here recently.
And also has familiarity with Callahan.
Sure does. Polls, please.
I don't know who you are, but I know what it's time for. A poll update on the Buck Rising Show. Here's a young man with a very particular set of skills. With the final numbers, here's Buck Rising Show correspondent and producer, Lucas Panzica.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Well, we tweeted this morning. What is the first move in free agency you want to see the Titans make? And GMC said need another weapon and offensive line. That's what they did in Pollard and Cushenberry.
Yeah, don't look at Pollard just as another running back. Look at him as a skill player for your offense. He's going to catch plenty of passes. He's going to be involved in your passing game. He's going to be a feature in your running game. He's going to make you less predictable. This thing only strengthens what you're trying to accomplish in this new system.
Some talk about C.J. Gardner-Johnson on the wish list of Titans fans. I saw some noise around that the Titans could be interested in him.
If you want an attitude, C.J. Gardner-Johnson got some attitude, bud. And not just because him and Baker Mayfield were drawn back and forth in the postseason this year. C.J. would be he would be a better version of what Jackrabbit Jenkins was supposed to be, for those of you who liked that signing a couple of years ago.
What would you be willing to give up for T. Higgins in a trade? Eric says a 3rd-round pick and next year's 5th. So
you don't have that.
Then you'd be going from, you don't have the 3rd-round pick. That's right.
Void.
Karen says 3rd-round pick, which you don't have, and Andre Dillard. So not going to happen.
Okay, guys, you can't just trade Traylon Burks, trade Andre Dillard. Yeah. The players that suck for your team also are viewed in the league the same way that you view them, okay? You can't just ship them off because they stink.
That's my favorite thing that fans do, is creating these trade scenarios. Like, send them Burks and just give us T. Higgins. David says a 1st and a 6th next year, swap the 2nd this year.
No, don't trade a 1st-round pick for T. Higgins.
No,
stop it.
Don't do that, please.
God. You guys, I understand that you're desperate for wide receiver help. Lawan's out there talking about trading for T. Higgins. With what, Taylor? With what are you trading for T. Higgins?
TGP,
please, God, let me know.
TGP on Twitter says a 2nd-round pick. If you do that, then you're basically going all of day 2 without making a selection in the draft.
Can't do that.
Who is the most interesting? Now, you were open to it initially, though.
T?
You don't be dismissive of trading for T. Higgins, because you came in here and you're like, I don't understand why Titans fans are so against this.
Well, because the reaction was so harsh. It was because they veered to an extreme immediately. I was like, well, you can't just outright rule it out.
Who is the most interesting NFL free agent on the open market? Karen says Derrick Henry. AZ Wildcat says Jeff Okudah, the corner.
Oh.
I don't think either of them are at the top of the list.
I think Derrick is.
The Athletic ranked.
Who's more interesting than
The
Derrick?
Athletic ranked 150 most interesting free agents. Where do you think Derrick ranked?
Mid to low 20s.
38.
38?
38.
Who's the most interesting free agent?
Danielle Hunter. What? At the top of the list. It goes Danielle Hunter, and this is a few days ago. Danielle Hunter, Chris Jones, who already signed his deal.
Chris Jones more interesting than Danielle Hunter.
Saquon Barkley, Kirk Cousins, Zadarius Smith, Christian Wilkins, Jonathan Grenard, who is a Minnesota Viking, Josh Jacobs. I mean, you go far. I mean, players like Darnell Mooney, Tyron Smith, Chase Young, Josh Reynolds is above Derrick Henry in this list.
I don't know. Now you're just being trolled.
I know.
They figured out the algorithm. They know the only way to get Titans fans to engage with content is to piss them off. I understand it.
Those are the polls.
All right, very good. Jeremy says, interesting in the F&M Bank chat, interesting that Henry hasn't been signed yet for everything that was up in arms, so the Titans let him go. No, this was never something that was expected. If Derrick Henry's still out there in June and doesn't want to go through training camp and is waiting for a contender to sign him, that's the thing that makes the most sense. Jeremy, that's a completely misguided narrative that is being propagated in the chat. Won't stand for it.
The news has lulled off a little bit, so probably expect a spike.
Well, yeah, people got to eat lunch.
Yes.
You couldn't be bothered to make it through the last 10 minutes of the radio show before you started stuffing hibachi in your face.
People got to go to Hattie B's and then get back to legally tampering.
Hattie B sounds good. I might just do that for lunch. Have a great rest of your afternoon. We'll be on mop-up duty tonight on primetime, 8 p.m. Central. Live stream on A to Z Sports. We'll be reacting there. You can catch up with us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Blaine and Mickey, 3HL. They'll keep you up to date with the latest.